Let's just dive right in with a crucial, maybe even a little uncomfortable, truth about cloud security. This quote, it gets right to the heart of a really common problem. The very convenience of the cloud, the fact that security feels so built in, can actually create a massive blind spot.
So that's exactly what we're going to tackle in this explainer. We are shining a bright light on that blind spot. We're going to break down exactly what your role is in the Microsoft Azure cloud, and more importantly, how you can master it to keep your stuff, your data, your applications genuinely safe.
Here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with that big misconception, then get into the single most important concept, the shared responsibility model. From there, we'll walk through your key jobs, identity, defense, and monitoring, before we wrap it all up with the final checklist.
All right, first up, the cloud security misconception. This is all about the danger of thinking that just because you've moved to the cloud, security is, well, handled. And honestly, this right here, this is it. This is the single biggest mistake people make. It's the assumption that when you move to Azure, you're just handing over all your security worries to Microsoft. And that one simple, easy to make assumption, well, that's the open door for so many security breaches. So how do we fix this mindset? Well, that brings us to the most fundamental concept in all of cloud security, the shared responsibility model. The best way to think about it is like an apartment building. Microsoft builds a super secure building. They've got guards, cameras, strong walls, the whole shebang. That's their job. But you are still responsible for locking the door to your own apartment. Okay, so here's the official take on it. It's not a service you buy, it's a partnership you enter into. This model is just a framework that draws a really clear line in the sand, showing what Microsoft is responsible for. And this is the important part, what you are still 100% responsible for. It's a team effort. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because that line of responsibility, it actually moves depending on what kind of service you're using. As you go from infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, where you control almost everything, over to platform and software as a service, Microsoft takes on more and more of the load. But look at that bottom row. Data governance and access management. Who gets to touch your data? That is always your job, no exceptions. Okay, so if you're always in charge of who gets in, that naturally leads us to your first and frankly, your most critical responsibility, securing identity. This is the new front door to your entire cloud world. You're going to hear this phrase a lot, and for good reason. It's the absolute truth. Think about it. Back in the day, we built a big, strong network wall, a perimeter around our data center. In the cloud, that wall is just gone. Your resources could be anywhere. So the new security perimeter isn't a place. It's the identity of the person or thing trying to get access. Verifying who they are is everything. And the good news is, Azure gives you some seriously powerful tools to lock this new perimeter down. You can force a second check with multi-factor authentication. You can get really specific with conditional access policies, acting like a smart bouncer that checks not just a password, but also location, device health, and risk. You can use privileged identity management, or PIM, to make sure powerful admin rights are only handed out when needed and just for a short time. You can even block weak or common passwords. But here's the kicker. Azure gives you the locks, but you have to be the one to turn the keys. Securing identity is job number one. Once you've secured the front door, it's time to think about the rest of your fortress. This is all about creating layers of defense within your virtual infrastructure. So if an attacker somehow gets past one wall, there's another one waiting right behind it. Your first layer, that's your network security groups, or NSGs. Think of them as the basic guards on the doorways inside your network. For a smarter, more advanced guard, you bring in Azure Firewall. If you've got web apps facing the internet, you absolutely need a web application firewall, a WAF, to protect against common web attacks. And this last one is so important, Azure Key Vault. Please, stop leaving your passwords and secrets lying around in your code. That's like leaving the master key under the doormat. Lock them up securely in the vault. All these tools together, that's your defense in-depth strategy. Building a strong fortress is great, but it's pretty useless if you don't have anyone watching the walls, right? You have to be constantly monitoring your defenses for threats and, just as important, have a plan for what to do when you spot trouble. Azure gives you two main tools for this, and it's really important to get the difference. Think of it this way. Azure Security Center is like your building inspector. It's a tool that's constantly scanning your setup for weaknesses, like an unlocked gate or a crumbling wall, and it gives you a to-do list to fix them. Azure Sentinel, on the other hand, is your 24/7 security patrol. It's the one looking for actual bad guys trying to get in right now. It collects all the signals from all over your environment to help you hunt for and respond to active threats. One helps you build strong walls, the other watches those walls for you. Let's make this real with a brilliant feature called Just-in-Time Access, or JIT. By default, the management ports on your virtual machines are just blocked. An attacker can't even get to the login screen. When one of your authorized admins needs access, they make an official request. A temporary rule gets created, just for them, from their IP address, for a limited time. And when that time is up, poof, the door slams shut automatically. This one feature massively shrinks the target an attacker has to aim at. It's the principle of least privilege in action. Okay, let's pull all of this together. Now that you understand the partnership, the tools, and the mindset, let's nail down the key takeaways you need to really master your role in cloud security. So here's your final checklist, the key things to burn into your brain. First, security is a partnership. It's not just a product you buy. Second, you have to understand the shared responsibility model for every single thing you use. Third, make identity your #1 priority. It is the new perimeter. Fourth, layer your defenses. Don't rely on just one thing. And finally, use Azure Security Center and Azure Sentinel as your watchtower to constantly assess, monitor, and respond. And that brings us to the final crucial question. Now you know that you're not just a customer, you're a partner in security. You know your role. So, thinking back to our apartment building, what's the very first door you're going to go and check?